show must go on, chat room. Show must go on. We got a lot to talk about today. Kinda, sorta. Sorta, kinda. Got a few interesting topics worth delving into today. But, yeah, I hope everyone's doing well today. Hope everyone's doing well. Let's see here. So, a couple things I wanted to talk about today, chat. First being, Guilty Gear. They released a new developer backyard. So it's like their little, like update on how the game's going, behind the scenes in the development of the game, which is very rare to get, especially when you're talking about Japanese developers, especially Japanese fighting game developers. This is pretty crazy that we're actually getting this much detail behind their mindset of some of the changes that they're making. Not all of it's been good. Not all their feedback has been great, or like especially talking about their lobby system. They seem to be fans of how their lobby systems are going, and even though they hear fan complaint, they're still going to try to find a way in some way, shape, or form for their things to work in the way that they do now. And I'm just like, you really want to switch up that lobby system for Guilty Gear. They seem hurt by that. But they're on their third developer backyard. They're on their third one. And yeah, so we got a little bit of information now to talk about in this third one. So we're gonna read together and see what they have to say for this third developer backyard. So it's released today. So welcome to another volume of Developer's Backyard. Thanks for reading. This is Katano from the development team at Arc System Works. First off, have you seen the trailer we debuted at the Japan Fighting Game Publishers Roundtable? That thing was such a mouthful. If not, take a look at it here. Actually, I have not seen the new character yet. I actually have not watched this trailer yet. I don't have my headphones in, so I can't guarantee the best audio quality. So we could check it out. Possibly, might come back to that. But we'd like to answer your questions and comments regarding Nagoriyuki Leo Whitefang in a future installment. So please send them via this form, okay? And with that out of the way, let's get the conversation going between us here at Arc System Works and the players. We'll continue to share our development intent, plans, and the latest info with you all. Okay. So, let's see here. In this section, we will answer questions we received after Developer's Backyard Volume 2. As always, I, Katano, will answer along with General Director Daisuke Ishiwatari. Ishiwatari. I'm pretty sure I'm saying his name right. Gotta make sure. If anyone can correct me, please do. But no, Daisuke. That's how you pronounce his first name. Well, let's see here. So first question, is your goal with Guilty Gear Strive to create a complex fighting game or a simpler one? It's a good question. So Katano, first I'd like to establish that we believe that simple and easy are separate concepts. That is true. With that in mind, I'll go over the development concepts for Guilty Gear Strive again. With previous games in the series, new players would not be able to understand what's going on in the match when they watched high-level gameplay. That kind of happens in general with certain games. Okay, so they feel. So they wouldn't feel very interested or motivated to improve. Because of that, we are working to make the appearance of moves and general impressions of the game easier to comprehend compared to prior entries in the series. Is someone really that Guilty Gear is going to be like, Guilty Gear Strive is going to be like my first Guilty Gear as compared to, I have XR'd Rev 2 and I've been in training mode a lot for it and played player matches amongst friends, just like locally, but online I can't find a single match for some reason on PlayStation 4. So yeah, I don't know. So I understand because I've watched like the Evo matches, the competitive matches for this game, and it's been kind of hit or miss because certain scenarios I can't fully grasp what's going on. but I feel like that's mostly because I just don't understand the ins and outs of certain characters at a high level, and just the somewhat a lack of availability of resources there kind of are to understanding high level, kind of like filling in that gap between the beginner like myself to the high level gameplay of a Guilty Gear player. But I don't know, it's just kind of, I don't know, it's kind of a strange way to put that, to say that just by looking at it that people don't feel motivated. I don't look at something that I don't quite understand and go, oh, well, I'll never try that. Like I remember with Kai, I was maining Kai originally in Guilty Gear Xrd Rev 2. And I was like, okay, I'm gonna look at some Kai gameplay from like some pro circuits or something like that, see if there's anything I can pick up. Honestly, that motivated me even more because I just saw people confirming into attacks and special moves. I was like, oh, I didn't even know that combination was possible. And it actually got me excited to go into practice mode and give it a shot. So I don't know, I don't really agree with the idea that it doesn't really motivate people when they see things that seem high level. To me, I like seeing high level gameplay because there's a certain gap between, like, you're like, well, this guy is on some next level stuff. I don't know how he's able to perform what he just did or react to whatever he just did. There's that level of it, but there's also the level of like, whoa, I didn't even know that was possible. I want to give that a shot. And I feel like they're not really recognizing that that is a very strong segment. And it's not just the look of the moves that, or the flashiness of the moves that sell a person on being like, oh, I want to give that a shot, even though it might look a little more difficult or it feels like there might be a barrier of entry. But regardless, let's keep it pushing. Let's keep it pushing. So, compared to other entries in the series, however, advanced techniques will be accordingly difficult to perform. After all, if everyone chooses the same actions and combos and set play in particular end up with only one correct option, this would take away Guilty Gear's unique appeal. And that is true. But at the same time, you know, a meta is always going to appear. You know, the most optimized version of certain combos is always going to be there in every single fighting game. That's what fighting game players do. You look to try to figure out how can you get the most damage possible out of what you're doing. But yeah, I mean, of course, you know, you still want to make sure there is that variation. Because I mean, right now they definitely need to work on that variation because there was no point in trying to achieve anything great in a combo, really. You just kind of wanted to spam what did the most damage in the beta. So I don't know, maybe that's just me personally, but I just felt like, yeah, they definitely need to work on that variation. That should be a very strong priority for them for sure. Let's see here. I believe the solution to getting new players to enjoy matches is not to make the game itself easier, but rather to create a rank system that makes it easy for them to play with others who are around the same skill level. If players can fight others at the same level, there's no need to try and make new players play the same way as advanced players, nor to make game mechanics that obscure the gap in their skill levels. I'm certain that we can make a game that new players can enjoy while also keeping advanced techniques in the game. Okay, that's optimistic, but at the same time, of course, there's always going to be people who are going to try to abuse a rank system in order to do that, in order to try to get that advantage or pick on, you know, newer players or underexperienced players. I don't know how I felt about their ranking system that they had, because I don't understand why you needed a ranking system in casual play as compared to just having a ranking system in ranked. To a certain degree, I mean, even when you look at Dragon Ball FighterZ, I think the ranking system is fine that they have for their casual play. It's pretty loose and it's pretty easy to interpret without feeling very restrictive. But what they had in the beta for Guilty Gear Strive felt very, very restrictive. And I feel like they would just have a lot easier time if you just clicked search for a match and it searched for a match. Instead of having this complicated, outdated lobby system, I'd rather just go to a main menu, click multiplayer, click versus match or whatever, and then just be done with it and just do it that way and make my life so much easier. And that cuts out so many more resources that they're wasting on doing these lobby systems in order to just have focus on matchmaking and having the strongest and best servers possible and best connections possible. But yeah, I mean, obviously with that statement, their number one goal is to do that and to be as, you know, catering to as many people as possible. So all you can do is kind of hope that they end up getting there in the end. So also the techniques in Guilty Gear Strive are difficult in a different way than those in previous Guilty Gear games. Series veterans have been practicing the difficult techniques from prior titles for many years now. That's why in the current environment, we've been able to see such thoroughly optimized high-level play. However, our goal for this game is to create something new and equally challenging for all players. Sure. So Daisuke has this saying, I spoke about this a bit during the Japanese Fighting Game Publishers Roundtable stream. You can hear my thoughts in this video. And so I guess particularly to have this clip, I don't know if it's in English or not. All right, well, that was not in English. So what are you gonna do? Let's see here. Will the story in Guilty Gear Strive be a continuation of the previous game, or will it start a new story? For the lore fans out there. Let's see here. So Daisuke has to say, the story is a continuation of the XR games, but in such a way that even new players can enjoy it. Also, we have something in the works for those who are curious about the story so far. We'll have more information for you later. Okay, cool. So it's not a full-on reboot, you know? So that is good to know that it's going to be a continuation from what people already love about this crazy lore so far. And it's going to be very, very interesting to see how they end up trying to summarize their own lore in whatever presentation they're going to have for people. That's going to be interesting. All right, let's see here. So question number 3. I've noticed that there are a few subtle, almost hidden mechanics and techniques, such as a changing direction when Roman canceling an air dash, or by using Faultless defense after an air dash to fall faster. Do you plan to have more similar, advanced, and unique techniques? And are there more that players seem to have missed in the beta? Let's see here. Yes. So Katana says, yes. Even as of the closed beta, we included many more techniques than those we've explained. We wanted to collect data about what players would find and how they would use their limited time with the game. When we release information on our official channels, it will have an impact on how people play the game. We wanted everyone to play the game, particularly in regard to the new mechanics, in a neutral state. In the end, we want to leave room for players' discoveries to exceed our expectations. Also, although we are still working on the game, there are going to be many major changes compared to the closed beta. We'll have more information later. So, good to know there's some bigger changes coming. Yeah, I mean, they're just kind of trying to, it seems like with this one, kind of reaffirm more to people that, like, hey, even though you felt like this was appealing too much to casuals in the wrong way, don't worry. We're still gonna have these advanced techniques, the things you love about Guilty Gear being complicated and complex. It's gonna be there, but in a stripped down fashion. But seeing is believing. We'll have more information later. I think a lot of companies, a lot of developers right now are just trying to buckle down towards the end of the year to try to meet some quotas, meet some goals for presentations. And yeah, I just hope that the next time we're able to get our hands on a beta for this game, that we're able to get our hands on this game in general, we're just able to get a better sense of what direction they're going to take this game for. Especially, I really hope that they're heeding people's advice on, we want more freedom in the way that we're able to structure our combos and the way we were able to approach situations, because it seems like even though there are these little advanced, hidden techniques about, being able to fall faster and all this stuff, and directions with the Roman cancels and yada, 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 even though there are these advanced techniques inside of the game, it still feels like we don't have as much as we can do in this game. And I don't want this game to kind of run into the same issues that Mortal Kombat 11 has, right? Where it just feels like you have your most effective tools, and that's what you're kind of just stuck with. Especially with the damage scaling had been really, really high in this game. It just felt like I don't know, there wasn't much room to experiment, and just sticking to the simplest things was your best option at all times. So, I don't know. We'll see how it goes. We'll see how it goes. I'm just ready to get my hands on another build of this game. I just really need get my hands on another build of this game right now. That's my number one thing. And just see how it feels again, you know, and just see what these improvements are actually gonna feel like. Because I'm a new player, and right now, Guilty Gear Strive worries me a bit, because I had this feeling like, oh dude, this could be one of my favorite fighting games of all time. Like, I love the look of the characters, I love the way that the combo structure is done in the previous games, but it's just, there's certain tweaks that have been made that makes combat a bit less fulfilling, you know? So I don't know, I just want to get the most out of it. So let's see here. As we continue, Katano. As we announced previously, next question, sorry. Let's see here. Hidden changes, stuff. Question number 4. Why aren't you guys addressing rollback netcode in these blogs? The silence around the net play is truly worrisome. Yo, someone hit him with the raw questions. They said, look, listen, we need the answers on the netcode, baby. Let's see here. So as we announced previously, Guilty Gear Strive will be using Rollback Netcode, which is currently under development. We're hoping to show players our netcode not through a section of a developer's backyard, but rather when players can play the game for themselves. We ask for your patience until then. Yes. No more delay-based netcode betas. The next time I want my hands on this game, I want it to be Rollback Netcode, because we don't want to end up in a situation with like what we have with Street Fighter 5. We're like, oh yeah, we got rollback netcode. You're like, I don't know what that is. It's not good rollback netcode. So yes, we want to be able to play the game, and we want their feedback. I truly think that right now they're definitely trying to just gear the game up to get into the best shape possible for a presentation for their next, beta. I really do think that, and they just want to deliver the best thing possible for people. It's just a matter of, I bet there's just so many debates behind the scenes going on right now about like what is the best avenue to deliver their vision of something that's inviting for new players but still has that depth that that old fans love. So question number 5, are you considering introducing a ranking system to the new Guilty Gear? With the ranking system in XRD, intermediate level players would be randomly matched with high level players and end up ranking down. On the other hand, however, being able to choose your opponent could also create a disparity in ability between players in the same rank. I'd be interested to hear your thoughts about these ranking systems, as well as what you plan to do from here on. My personal thinking is that we don't need rankings in our small community. I do think that it's important to get a sense of satisfaction within your own group. However, I think having something like titles such as Master of the Soul matchup might be good enough. I don't really agree with this guy. I think it's a strange thing to say just because your community is small, quote unquote, that you don't need a proper ranking system, especially considering that they want this game to appeal and bring in as many players as possible. This would be the point where you'd want the most well-structured in general ranking system possible. I don't know, it just feels like he wants something that's a bit more loosey-goosey, it seems. At least that's my understanding of reading this question. But let's see here. Katano had to say, we plan to announce the details of our system using a different channel, but I can tell you that the rank system will be completely different from prior games. Before, we've made systems for the games in arcades and then used those ideas as a base when making the console versions. However, since we are developing the game with online matches in mind from the start, the baseline is already quite different. Let me share some reflections we have regarding previous games' rank system. All right, we noticed players would avoid playing modes that impacted their rank because they didn't like losing points. Having multiple online modes split the player base, making it difficult for beginners in particular to match with people around their skill level. We see these two issues as major problems, and our goal is to avoid it with this game. Also, I'd like to address now, as it is related to online modes, we are implementing more online features in this game for those who want to take their matches seriously. Okay, so they're gonna have a form of a ranked mode, but it seems their main priority is to keep the player base together. I wonder how they plan on achieving that to a certain degree. Huh. Okay. I don't know. I just haven't had experience with Guilty Gear Online because I've never been able to find a match for XR Rev 2 on PlayStation 4, so I just had to take people's word for it that was the experience that people had with the online. I just don't know. Let's see here. So question number 6. Let's see here. Okay. All right, question number 6. How does the development team feel about the current state of instant blocking and faultless defense? Let's see here. With the added emphasis on risk, even though it's hard to see with how the UI is implemented. Thank you. FD seems to have a strong place as a defensive option. It both minimizes risk gain and allows for forcing whiff punish situations from a defender who is making good decisions and paying attention to their opponent. However, instant block seems like it has lost a lot of its interesting aspects from prior titles and only exists because it used to. The interesting point around it, where you can turn block strings punishable to take advantage of auto-piloted offense or create new defensive situations, no longer exists. It's simply meter gain. Is this enough to keep instant blocking interesting and worth the risk? Or does it need further refining and iteration to become a more thoughtful option for the defender? Whoa, this guy's got the hot takes, hot questions going on. To be honest, most of that's going over my head. I know about the risk gauge from playing the beta, but as a new player, I mean, most of these options, I'm not gonna lie, they're kind of going over my head a little bit, just a tad bit. But let's see what Daisuke has to say. We are also continually debating defensive mechanics and game mechanics. To address instant blocking specifically, in the closed beta test, we simply decrease the reward gain from successfully instant blocking in order to avoid instant blocking becoming a prerequisite for matches and strategy. However, this removed any incentive to try instant blocking while also failing to improve the mechanics because the input required remained unchanged. So we're currently rethinking the input and effect of instant blocking completely. Our plan is to make the mechanics something more exciting by the time you can play the game. Look forward to what we come up with. Okay. All right, and then about the next volume of Developer's Backyard. That's all for volume 3 of Developer's Backyard. Thank you for reading to the end, of course. We'll have more news about the game for you in October. Okay, cool. So get hype! We're currently accepting submissions for topics you'd like for us to discuss in a future Developer's Backyard, as well as questions and comments via the form below. Please note that we cannot answer inquiries regarding playable characters that have not yet been announced. Also, please be aware that we cannot answer every submission. Well, alrighty then. Let's see here. Alright, so overall, I mean, it didn't seem there was like too much to glean out of certain ones. I guess the biggest thing for a lot of the questions that were being brought up was that they're just like, hey, look, we're working on it. We actually are paying attention to these specific questions you're bringing up. They are on our mind and we are working on them. So that is good to know that they are being addressed and that they're just as equally on the mind of the developers as they are on the players as well. Overall, some of the things involved in that developer's backyard just went over my head as a new player. The developer's backyard doesn't really. It feels very geared towards, all right, look, how do we not make make our old players mad at us about the changes we're making, and how do we explain to them why we're making these changes? The developer's backyard doesn't really feel like something where it's like, oh yeah, these are for the new players to come in and get a little peek behind the curtain. Because I'm sitting there and I'm like, bro, what are they talking about? Instant fall block, instant block and fall, ball flocking when the drop it, when the defense, and it's like, oh, sure. So, regardless, yeah, I still think it's nice to get a glimpse between what people are thinking as they are actively developing a game, and I still think this is important, especially for Japanese fighting games, because communication is always seemingly the number one barrier or issue that a lot of people have with them, and the number one thing that's trying to be overcome is that that lack of communication. So I think it's interesting. I think it's still interesting. I'm still excited for this game. I'm excited to pick it up and see what they end up doing with this game, because like I said, I have so much high hopes for this game, and I just really, all I want more from this game is just a bit stronger defensive options, because my god, when you're sitting there and you're just blocking for most of the time against certain characters, it's quite frustrating. Just a little bit stronger defensive options to just get people off of you, or get a bit more openings against certain characters, because my god, trying to get in on Axel playing as Kai, that was got a bony. Yeah, they are, but it was garbage. It's absolute garbage. So I'm hoping that ends up okay. And I think just the last thing is just more options for light combo starters. I think you can't even combo. I think, from trying to remember from the beta, you couldn't even combo off of light attacks, which was very, very frustrating, because it just felt like you couldn't just naturally create a normal combo that you make in like almost every other Guilty Gear game that you'd make off of Dragon Ball FighterZ and stuff like that, moving from punch to kick to slash to heavy, like down heavy slash or something like that, Roman cancel into punch slash, and then staircase up with an air cancel, all that jazz. Like, it's just the typical things that make up a simple combo that you start off with, that you feel comfortable with, and then branch out from and try some crazy stuff. I wish that was there in this game, but they just want you to be very situational with your combos, which is honestly harder for me as a new player, as compared to having something I can rely on, like a quick combo that maybe doesn't do as much damage as the situational ones. But with that being said, I'm still excited for the game. I'm ready in October to see what else they're going to announce, and I need more hands-on time with the game to truly get a feel for it and understand where they're trying to take this game. And yeah, I feel like my opinion matters greatly, not to be too haughty about it, but it feels like my opinion is technically the one that they would want the most, because I'm part of that new demographic that they want, right? The people who've never really tried Guilty Gear before, the people who've heard the name Guilty Gear before, but never really had the chance or had the courage to dive in and play the game. And as a new player, there's still a lot of stuff that still makes me trepidatious as compared to how much I enjoy in the things that are appealing to me. So we'll see how it goes. Still got high hopes, and I really hope they're able to bring it together by the end of it, right? Okay, chat. I think that's all we got to say about Guilty Gear. Try it.